Everybody, Andy here again, down on the beach. Just thought I'd come out for a wander. I've just recorded an audio boo, actually, podcast, which I'll have to listen to before I decide whether it's going to go out there. But it was all to do with time and what I do with my time. And some time ago, getting on for 8-9 months ago, I actually recorded a video which I never ever posted, and it was called How I Fill My Days. I have no idea why it didn't get posted, but I remembered it and reviewed it the other day. And obviously it was recorded when I was at work. When you're at work, time is precious to you, or the time that you get for yourself is precious to you, isn't it? We have all those work commitments and everything else that you have to do when you get back, your family commitments, all those other things that you have to do. So that when you are at work and you do get some spare time, some free time, if you're anything like me, you try to spend that time wisely. Now, how you spend that time is obviously completely up to you. Some people will spend it vegging out in front of the TV, or staring into space, or not doing a lot else, or just social networking and playing Farmville or something like that. I've never been really one of those type of people. I always try and be a bit more constructive with my time. That's not necessarily a criticism of anyone else who does things differently to me, because we all have our own ways of relaxing, we all have our own ways of using our time. If you're happy playing Farmville all day or vegging out in front of the TV and you get your relaxation out of that, fine. My wife does that. That's how she relaxes. She watches the TV. Often she'll fall asleep in front of the TV and she won't know what she's watched, but it relaxes her, and that's all that matters really. After a hard day at work or something like that, that's what you need. As I said, I've always tried to use my time more constructively, to the extent that if I had like a morning off of work, not so much at the weekends because you get a bit more then, don't you, but if you had a morning or something like that, I'd be thinking to myself, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to read my book for half an hour, then I might watch that programme that I recorded or something like that, then I might do this, and I've got to do that because there's always things that you've got to do. And that's really what that video was about how I planned my days, how I filled my days. And of course now my situation is rather different. I supposedly have all the time in the world. Yes, there's always, as I said, there's always deadlines that you have to keep, family deadlines or things that you have to do. Fine, I accept that as well. Fair enough. But it still amazes me how I do fill my days. I find now that I said to my wife, I don't know where the day's gone. This has happened, that's happened. It seems to someone from the outside as though nothing's going on, but you're doing things. Once again, they might not be the things that other people would do. And my time still is precious. It's still a commodity. It doesn't matter how much time you've got or how little time you've got, it's still a commodity, and I think you should try and use it as wisely as you can. As I've just said in the podcast, I met a friend of mine, a musician friend on the seafront, and that's one of those things. You have more time to do that. You can go out, like I had this afternoon. I thought, I'll go out for a wander. The weather's not too okay, it's clouded over now, but the tide's out, I can walk along the beach on my own, in my own time, and I've found that I've slowed down a little bit life-wise, and I said in the podcast that I'm actually walking slower. I hadn't noticed, and it suddenly struck me, hang on a minute, Andy, you're walking a lot slower than what you normally do. You're taking it in, maybe because you've relaxed, you've got that sort of time. But this morning, for example, I got up. I don't get up late. That's another thing. And if anything, I'm getting up at the same sort of time. I'm certainly waking up at the same time. That's what I used to. And I'm getting up and I'm doing things. I'm reading far more than I ever used to, which is good, because that's something I've always enjoyed doing, and I like to learn from books and things like that. So I'm educating myself in that respect, if you want. But I've got more than one book on the go, and I'm thinking, right, I'll read a chapter of this, and then I'll go on to this. I might have a cup of tea. Then I'll watch that programme that I recorded, as I said, the other day. And then, right, I'll go out and do this. I wrote a blog post this morning, something come into my head, and I spent a while doing that, and then I just did a little bit of social networking. And whereas before, I may well have just sat there and continued doing it and started surfing and messing about. Now, I find that, if anything, I'm a bit more disciplined than what I used to be before. Maybe it's because I feel I ought to be doing something. There's that sort of guilt trip there, I suppose. You feel that you should be doing something, and your wife's going to come and say, what do you do today? Not that she does, as it happens, but you think, well, actually I didn't do anything. I just surfed the net all day. Well, that can, once again, if that's what you get your kicks from, fair enough. But as I said, I like to do things a bit more. Yes, I'll do my surfing and do that sort of stuff. I research things, I've got other ideas that I'm thinking of. And I was just talking to my friend on the seafront about just that type of thing, about people in my sort of situation. And what do you do with your time? So many people in my situation, in their 50s or younger or older, whatever, who've been effectively left on the scrap heap, I suppose, or they certainly feel that they've been left on the scrap heap. And I think, what am I going to do now? Well, that is up to you, isn't it? And we'll come to this in another video. But you need to think about how you fill your days. You don't have to write a timetable. You don't have to think, right, I'm going to read my book from 9:11 till 10:03 or something like that. Then I'm having a cup of tea. Then I'm going to go to the toilet or something. You don't have to do it that way. But if you just have, I suppose it's your own sort of rules and regulations in your head, I suppose, you find that you get far more done. I'm getting far more done now than I think I've ever done in the past. Yes, I've got more time to do it. Totally accept that, but I could quite easily, as some people I know do, is slip into that habit because there is no work to go to. I haven't got a rigid timetable that I used to. I had to be at work at a certain time or whatever, and you come home and etc, etc. Now I'm more flexible, but you can so easily slip into that, vegging out in front of the TV or just sitting there watching DVDs all day. Not saying I'll never do that type of thing, but if you do it day after day, and you just end up achieving nothing. And I think most of us would like to achieve something with our lives, and some of us get that through work. Conversation I was having with my friend just a moment ago. Some people, that's what they get their lives achievement from. It's from what they do with work. And if you're deprived of that work, that sense of achievement, what do? It's up to you to do something about it. I like to think that I'm trying to do something about it by reading more, watching less TV, surfing less, and using my time a bit more creatively. Time management stuff, which I remember having to do at work, and I hated that sort of stuff at work. You spend your time planning stuff, well, isn't that a waste of time? But now I don't do it that way. I manage my time, but under my own criteria, under my own circumstances, under my own rules. And that's a pretty good way to be. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Look at the sea and have a wander along the beach slowly. Thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.